Highlanders season preview for 2019. It's going to be an interesting year for the Highlanders. It's Aaron Major's second year in charge. I mean, last season they finished with a decent record. 10 wins and 6 losses. But they just seemed a slight cut below those top teams. I mean, everyone was pretty much a cut below the Crusaders at the end. But for a while, it looked like the Hurricanes perhaps were the only team able to keep up. The Highlanders were still there or thereabouts, not that far away, but still, like I said, just that one step behind. So it'll be an interesting one to see whether they can take another step forward for 2019 under Aaron Major. So we have a look at the squad, kind of who's been retained, who's come in, and who's left for the 2019 season. And look at the fixtures, how does it compare to some of the other teams, and yeah, kind of what are the expectations for them. So we'll start with the current playing ranks. So there's Sefa Gasse, who's come over from the Reds. I think he's a very good pickup. That Reds scrum was monstrous last season, so having him on board I think can only be a good thing. Josh Josefa Scott's come up from the Mitre 10, as has Aidan Johnston. Dan Leonard-Brown's still there. Tyrell Lomax is still there, and he was a bit of a bolter last year. And Siate Tokalahi is also in the propping rank. So good enough to be a competitive scrum without perhaps being a dominant one. I guess we will see if Fagase and some others can make an impact. Hookers, you've still got Coltman and Dixon, who'll probably be the main two guys. And Ray Niuya, excuse possible pronunciation there, up from the Mitre 10 Cup. Locks, Josh Dixon, Tom Franklin, Jackson Hemopo, Pari Parkinson, and Jack Wetton there. So again, you're probably not quite there with like a Brodie Retallick, but not many teams are. But I'm still pretty happy that they've got the guys to do that tall timber role for the Highlanders. Loose forwards is probably one of the strongest set of loose forwards in the country, if not the whole comp. Shannon Frizzell, Dylan Hunt, James Lynchus, Luke Whitelock, Elliot Dixon, Marino Michaele Tu'u, and Liam Squire. So virtually all those guys are All Blacks or former All Blacks. Definitely one of the strongest sets of depth in loose forwards of any team. I expect to see a lot from them, and traditionally the game style they've played requires a lot of tackling, so you need to have good loosies, and that's kind of what they've built themselves around. Scrum halves, Fakatava is up from the Mitre 10 Cup. Hamilton and Smith are still there from last season. Hamilton actually got a bit more game time than perhaps we might have thought, and he looked pretty good when he played. Fly halves, Marty Banks, cult hero for the Highlanders, is back from Japan. Somebody also commented that he could be a bolter for the World Cup if we get some injuries in New Zealand. Hey, you never know. Bryn Gatland's over from the Blues. As a Blues fan, I have no doubt that he will suddenly become perhaps the world's best number 10, because anybody who leaves the Blues just gets infinitely better. So yeah, we'll see how he goes. Josh Ioane is also there from last year. Midfielders, and it's another area of depth here for sure for the Highlanders. Buckman, Faddis, Thompson, Tompkinson, Umanga Jensen, and Tay Walden. I mean, it was mostly Tay Walden and Thompson last season, and they formed a really dynamic duo, for want of a better phrase. But I mean, the likes of Faddis, Buckman, I mean, these guys are pretty versatile. They can play more than just the midfield. But yeah, man, that's a pretty encouraging looking team list. And then outside backs, Tavita Lee, Josh Mackay, Tavita Nabura, the Kung Fu Kick guy from last season, Waisaki Naholo, and Ben Smith. Again, that's a pretty impressive little list. And if I was a Highlanders fan, I would be pretty encouraged for 2019. Aaron Major, I know he's not the most popular coach, but he's got players to do a job here, and we will see if he is able to kind of lift them to that next level, as I said, for 2019. Who's left? Well, Ake Siuli is apparently injured. He's not going to be appearing this season from what I've read. Likewise, Kalolo Tuiloma. Greg Pleasance-Tate has not survived the chop, so he's not got a Super Rugby contract this season. He may be in the wider training squad, but I haven't seen him listed in the Super Rugby team. Dan Pryor's gone to the Sunwolves. Fletcher Smith has gone to the Hurricanes. Liam Opawanga, the key one, has gone to Wasps, he didn't have his best year for the Highlanders last year, I thought, and he's not having his best year for the Wasps either, from what I've seen of the Champions Cup. So, hey, it'll be interesting to see how he gets replaced. Fixtures list. It's a bit of a mixed bag. It's much different from last year. So they start away at the Chiefs, home to the Reds, away to the Rebels, and then away to the Hurricanes. So 3 out of their first 4 games are away from home. And that could be crucial because last year they didn't leave Dunedin until week 6. That included a bye, but their first away game was week 6. And they don't tend to have the best away record. Like, they're 100% at Forsyth Bar last season, undefeated, even the Crusaders. But away from home, I think they got three wins. And that was against the Blues, the Reds, and the Bulls. So all teams who finished right at the foot kind of of the table. So, yeah, 3 away games to start the season is perhaps not what the doctor ordered for the Highlanders. They could find themselves on the back foot a wee bit. Crusaders at home in week 5 and then a bye. Travel up to Auckland to face the Blues in week 7. Hurricanes at home in week 8, Crusaders away in week 9, Blues at home in week 10. So it's New Zealand team, New Zealand team, New Zealand team, New Zealand team, albeit 2 of them being the Blues, which if you are going to face a New Zealand team, those are the preferred option because, hey, we're the weakest team. Sunwolves away, so a trip to Japan, back away to face the Chiefs. In Hamilton, Jaguares at home, and then there's a trip to South Africa, Lions and Stormers, and finally they get a bye. They play from week 7 to week 15 on the trot. And that includes a trip to South Africa. So it's not all that kind. But fortunately, the bye comes immediately. The second bye comes immediately after that trip to South Africa. So they get a long run of games, travel to South Africa, and then a rest before they're home. The last 2 games, Bulls and Waratahs. They'll want some revenge over the Waratahs from last year. The Waratahs beat them twice in regular season and the playoffs. So there's a bit of an opportunity for revenge there. But yeah, I do like that bye in week 16. It's probably pretty well placed, but they still need to get through that stretch of games in the middle period and still be in contention. They avoid the Sharks and the Brumbies. So yeah, there's a kind of middling teams to be avoiding. It could be better, it could be worse. But despite all that, which I think is a pretty tough schedule, the bookies have got them as the 3rd favourite team, 3rd equal, to win Super Rugby. So, hey, the bookies have got a bit of faith, or at least the punters do. But yeah, I mean, key things for the Highlanders this season are going to be, how's Aaron Mauger going to go with his tactics? Because traditionally the Highlanders have been a kicking team, hit people on the counter with those startling backs of theirs, and loose forwards who can just tackle all day long, get turnovers. Is he going to stick with that? Because he's talked about wanting to play with more ball, because that game plan requires the other team having the ball a fair bit. He's talked about changing that up. Will they do it? Also, who plays 10? It's Gatland, it's Banks, and it's Ioane. I'm not sure who the favourite is. I mean, Highlanders fans would probably say Banks, but Ioane looked pretty good in the Mitre 10 Cup, and Gatland does have that Super Rugby experience, and as I said, will get better having left the Blues. And yeah, winning away from home is just absolutely crucial. And they do have a fair few tough away games. Like, they got the Sunwolves away, which could be a bit of a banana skin. The Lions and the Stormers are pretty tough away fixtures. The Rebels in Melbourne is not going to be easy as it has been in past years. Even the Blues after a bye could be a bit of a banana skin as well. So it's going to be tough, but they do have those 2 home games to finish the season on, which you would hope to kind of bank on a few points there to catch up in case they are behind. But yeah, it's not going to be an easy season for the Highlanders by any means. 10 wins and 6 losses last season. They did have that one game where they played home, but it was away. Was it in Fiji? And they lost. That was probably a little bit costly in the end as well. They don't have that this season. Their games are at home except for one in Invercargill. So yeah, it looks like it could be a pretty good season, but yeah, they definitely need to get the tactics right. and get a guy at 10 who's going to do the business. Maybe it is Marty Banks. Maybe he's the man for the job. You guys let me know your thoughts on the Highlanders. Are they going to press on and kind of, push to that Crusaders, or perhaps even like the semi-finalist level, let's just put it that way? Or can you see them falling back a bit towards where the Blues are at? Can you see the Blues perhaps getting a win? That's the only team, not to be disrespectful, but the Blues have gotten close against the Highlanders at Eden Park and not been quite able to get over the line. So I feel like that's maybe a game that the Blues can win. But hey man, I'm an optimistic Blues fan. What are you going to do? Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on the Highlanders season, and I will talk to you again soon. See you later.